And then I need to do the screen share. And I will be using desktop 1. So you folks are going to have to remind me to drag my terminal window back and forth because the screens are not mirrored. I haven't got that working yet, so we will get there. So when you get into your guest account, you'll get something like this. Now I can make this screen bigger. I think it's focused. Maybe make it bigger. And then change the colors of the fonts. All right. So this is your very first thing that you look at when you log into guest. You say, hey, I don't even get this. What am I looking at? This is something called the terminal window. And back 100 years ago, when computers didn't have any GUIs, we were connected to a mainframe with this box. It was called a terminal. And this terminal was brain dead. It would take information from the mainframe and it would move the cursor across the screen. And that's how you displayed, and you would type from a keyboard to the terminal back to the mainframe. Those terms are still around, and there's still functions in an equivalent manner, somewhat different. Okay. So this is your terminal window. How do you get to it? There's a couple ways. You can click in the upper right-hand corner where it says activities and then type in terminal, or you can do Control-Alt-T to get to your terminal, or you can right-click somewhere and it says open in terminal window. So there's several ways to do it. Now, one of the things I want you to do in front of the Linux box you're sitting on is hit Control-Alt-F3. Press and hold Control-Alt and then hit F3 and tell me what you see. It's a login. This is a non-GUI login. This is typically what's called the console. In other words, you normally don't have a GUI when you're running on a big server that's sitting in the back room. It's the console. So when you do Control-Alt-F2 or F3 or F4 or F5, you can get a whole new window on your box. Oftentimes when X Windows or the GUI goes out to lunch, you can do your Control. I think it's F2. It should take you back. Now I may have some problems. Ooh, boy, I'm getting all kinds of fun errors. Yay, Wayland. All right. So here we are. We're going to navigate. Now this is where your pen and paper comes in handy. And I'm going to do the same thing because I'm going to forget. If you need pencils, they're over here. I have paper up here. You can make note of it however you want. Some people use their phone. They take pictures. I don't care. I think it's just easier to use pencil and paper. All right. There's a sign-in sheet going around, and everybody should have a VI quick reference. If you don't, let's get you one. And does everybody have one? Probably not. Okay, need a couple. All right. Any more? Your silence is consent. That works great in business communication. Your silence is consent. The computer will be rebooting at lunchtime. If somebody's working, they're going to let you know. Otherwise, nobody lets you know. Okay. So, all right, let me show you something here. I'm using a different type of terminal editor. What I did is I typed in history. It gives me the history of my commands. And I want to rerun one of those commands, and I want to run 389. So to run 389, I go bang 380, or excuse me, 398. 398. Hit enter, and it will run that command again. This is called job control from history. Okay. This is something that's new. Windows says, oh, yay, look at this. We can have history now. But it doesn't maintain state. So every time you log into Windows, you get a brand new history. This will maintain state if you want it to. The default configuration is it keeps track of all your history. So if you never purge it, you can have a nice long timesheet type of thing of what you've been doing to your computer and fixing it. So this is a brand new install, and I've only done 400 and some odd commands. Okay. Well, I've done a lot in that 400 commands. So, oops, I guess I better close this to get it to print. So, that one, that one. There's 4 more. Okay, here's a couple. So I have a few here. And if you didn't sign in the sheet, sign in on the sign in sheet. Let's see. So here's some extras. Whoever needed them. Oh, you got some? Yeah. I'll be glad to get this cast off. I'm really only 25 up here. Okay. Now, we're staring at these terminals. How many of these windows can you open? As many as you want. You can open a gazillion of these things. And you will completely get lost of where you are. Okay. And the way these things work, to close them, you just use Control D. And then when you're running a long command and you want to kill it, Control C. They send an interrupt to the terminal. Now, here's something that I'm going to start making notes here of things that I want to show you. Is history. And then when this is all said and done, I'll have my history file, and I'll be able to save some of this stuff and put it up on that website that I showed you that does the static web pages. Okay. Now here's what happens in this class. If you're passive and receptive and wait for things, and then when I give you the answers and put them up on the screen or put them up on the website, you're not going to remember it and you won't get through the interview. But if you're actively engaged, working on it, making your brain stretch, it's going to stick. Okay. Just observation on what I've seen in the past. Okay. So I've logged in. Now what? Well, let's just use a few commands from here to find out what we are on. So let's type in uname -a. And what uname does is it tells you what? If I'm on a Linux box, it tells me the host name. The host name is JMKLL31con. Yours is going to say something different. It's going to say generic something. Yours is going to say 515, right? Or something. That's your kernel version. This is a brand new install, so I have a newer kernel. Does it make much difference in this class? No, absolutely none. because we're not changing hardware. We're using the same machines. And usually the kernel changes are optimizations for new hardware. And this is the newest machine I've got in all four of the rooms that I worked on. So I needed the latest kernel just to get things to boot. Okay. And the other thing it shows you is Ubuntu and then GNU/Linux. It's telling you your flavor of Linux. When you're on a Linux box, sometimes it's wise to find out what flavor you're running on. And there's a couple ways to do this. You can say cat proc version and cat etc OS release. Those tell you some specifics about your hardware and what you're actually running. Okay. Now let's explain a little bit about that proc thing. They stole that from FreeBSD. It's a great idea. And then etc OS release. Now I'll be showing you most of the commands that you will be standard user commands. So you don't need to be admin, so to speak, for what we're going to do tonight. So tonight is very hands-on. We're going to be doing VI and basically simple navigation. So if all this stuff is familiar to you, good, help your neighbor. If it's new to you, take good notes, because this is where you'll live the rest of the semester, at least in the hands-on part of the class. Okay. So it shows you all kinds of interesting things, what type of Ubuntu it is, what flavor, and this ID like. This is important right here. That tells you what kind of package manager you're using. In the world of Linux, I get a nice picture here. Let's see, I don't know. Sorry about you online. Tough. What happens in the world of Linux is you have the kernel that's here. Okay. And around the outside of the kernel, we have something called user space. Okay. And the user space looks pretty much the same for everybody. Okay. It's using bash and so on and so forth. The package manager that you use based on your distribution changes. In Ubuntu, Mint, Debian, you're using something called the Debian package manager. This is in test out, mind you. They talk about the different package managers. They talk about the big ones, but they don't talk about the obscure ones, okay, which I will do tonight. Okay. So the package managers is the way you install stuff. No magic there. It's just standard utilities. They wrap them in different ways. Red Hat OpenSUSE uses RPM, Red Hat Package Manager. Okay. And then there's the Yellow Dog Package Manager called Yum, which is used for old IBM hardware on microchannel. Then there's Arch. And then there's Pac-Man for, well, Pac-Man for Arch and Emerge for Gen 2. So a lot of the distributions have different package managers. Now, why do you need to know that? Well, what flavor of Linux are you doing? And if you want to install something, you just say apt install, install. And Ubuntu, Mint, and Debian make that very easy for the developer sitting in front of the computer. You don't have to go talk to admin to say, hey, I need this tool. You just go do it. Okay. Good luck, Windows. Okay. There's the two big ones, and then there's lots of other ones off off to the side. Now, is this the only Linux available? No, I will pop over. Let's see here. Let's do this. No, I think I'll do it over here. I'll just, well, let me do this. New window. Click. Oh, there we go. SSH. Oh yeah, I need to show you that one too. 1 minute. Hold on a second. I'm on another Unix box. Where? Well, it's in Austin, Texas. What is it? Well, let's find out. What's it say? NetBSD. What's that? Anybody heard of the FreeBSD? Yeah, okay. OpenBSD? Yep, these BSDs are actually precursors to Linux. I used FreeBSD many moons before Linux was a thing.
I'll just fun fact about BSD. PlayStation consoles run the PlayStation consoles run a fork of BSD and the underlying OS for the console.
Right, right. And we'll talk about that. Thanks for the lead in. That's going to be perfect. The original Linux, as we know, Unix, came from AT&T. And they released it to the universities. Well, the university said, hey, we can start making products with this. It's called Berkeley Standard Distribution, BSD. AT&T said, I'm going to sue you now. So they went into a clean room. AT&T yanked out all their code. And you now had this gutted BSD. It was called BSD, and you can still download it. I believe it's Lite is what it's called. And it's right around 4.4. Okay. It's a different numbering scheme than FreeBSD or NetBSD. This is like the original open source. Why don't we have BSD everywhere and Linux took over the planet? Licensing. This is a big deal. Licensing is a big deal. I was at Foster's. They would not let me run any open source because there was nobody to sue if it went down. That's a big deal when you're talking about a company that's making $1.8 billion chopping up dead chickens. That's a lot of money in downtime if an open source package breaks. So, caveat emptor. But if you're a startup, it makes total sense. Why pay royalties to somebody who's not around? You know, you want to get your stuff out there. Okay. Well, with BSD, what happened is they started with this, and they had 3 camps. Well, basically 2 to start with. 1, technically, NetBSD, which was designed to run on anything and everything. You know who the biggest supporter of NetBSD is? NASA. They have got computers from way back in the day, and they're still using them because they write their own code to run these things. Okay. And so NetBSD is basically can run on anything. And using the BSDs is not easy. You got to know what you're doing. Okay. It's not for the faint of heart. FreeBSD, the one you may have heard of, is popular because it works on Intel hardware. And that's what I ran for many years, because when I got into Linux, it was 0.99 was the kernel number. What are we now? 6.5? 0.99. It came in a box with about 80 floppies, and you had to install it one floppy after the other. And if you have a bad spot on your floppy, Oh crap, you have to start all over again. You send them off and you get back. By the third shipment, you get a complete copy and you finally get the thing running. Yay! You save it to tape and never let go of that tape. Okay. So, but in those days, it was a lot easier to interface hardware because you actually compiled your own kernel. Hey, I got this crappy hardware. This is an LMS 103 hard drive. You find the drivers and you compile your kernel and it would work. Can you still do that? Yes. And you can do that with Linux. It's a lot easier because in Linux, it's just a bunch of flags. You say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and it will compile a kernel for you. So it makes things extremely optimizable. So if you know your server is going to be pegged, you can strip out all the crap that you're never going to use and compile it for exactly your hardware. And you're going to get some real beefy speed out of that thing. You'll see orders of magnitude. Trust me on that one. And this SDF, it's a super domain fortress is the name of it. They've been around since 87, I think. And I'll talk more about these folks later. But it's nice to have a box that's outside of your world so you can actually try things like ping and see if it's alive. That's kind of nice. So if I need to ping the internal route to get back to MJC, I have a way from the outside to do trace route to see if I'm actually getting my stuff out of my router. You can do this at home too. Don't have to do it so much today, but it for a networking thing, you kind of want to keep track of who's coming and going. Okay. So it's kind of nice to have. And this is like 36 bucks a year for the big one. We'll talk about it later. So I'll get rid of that one. So here we are. All right. So clear, we've talked about. Now, let's talk about the file system. Where's my stuff? Well, in Windows, you have folders, right? Those folders are directories. Same thing here. Folders, directories. So if you do ls, it shows you what's available to you. This means list. And there's 1,000 flags. We talked about that. Man space ls to find out what it is. Okay. What directory am I in? Do pwd. That means print working directory. That tells me where I am in the file system. So with pwd, I can say I'm in my home directory. We have a shortcut in Linux, and you will see this thing pop up. Let's see here. Let's go to mnt. I just created this today. So there I am. So if I type in cd tilde, a little hard to see. Maybe I can make that bigger. Why is that not working? Oh, there we go. cd tilde. What does that do? And then I want to run a command right afterwards. I'll just put a space so you can see it. Use a semicolon and pwd. This says cd tilde and then run pwd. Tilde is a shortcut for this. How many are familiar with environment variables? Okay. This is where the web works. The environment variables is how you get data from your browser down to the network to your database server. That's how it works. It's using the environment. And I'll show you how this works. Okay. So when you say echo $, That means give me the contents of home. Programming 101, you got a box, you label it X, and you put different stuff in the box, right? That's all this is, okay? We use the $ in bash to say what's inside the box. If I say echo home, that's all it does. It echoes the home, okay? All right, just the characters. All right, now let's play with an environment variable. This is fun, okay? Follow with me here. So type in uppercase hi equal sign, and then use a double quote. Hello world. Okay. Notice syntax. There are no spaces around the equal sign. And the double quotes are around the space. One thing that you will hear from me is spaces and file names are evil. Having been a DBA for so many years, I would get users who didn't really know what databases were about, and they'd create table names and column names with spaces. And they would try to get their Access database, which supported that, into the production database, which does not support spaces in table or column names. It ends up first space name, that's 2 columns in the database, not 1. So when you see me creating file names, I virtually never use spaces from the many years of fixing problems that users would induce by putting spaces. You're all probably very comfortable adding spaces to things, right? Makes it easier to rate. That's fine. And you're going to run into a problem someday down the road where this doesn't work. I can't, oh, yeah. UU encoding isn't working with the space on the file name. That's, let me change it. Sometimes you'll see it with a plus sign, first space, underscore, minus sign. It varies. But once you hit enter, what you have done is that you have created an environment variable called hi with the contents hello world. So knowing what you know now, how would you display hello world? Bingo. Catch that? You can spell. All right. It works. Now, let's break your brain and move on to another little fun thing. Type in the word bash, hit enter, and type in echo $hi. What happened? You broke. No, it worked exactly as advertised. Why? Well, here's the long answer. Well, actually, the short answer is that once you set an environment variable, when you log in with bash, you get a chunk of memory. It's called your namespace for you, for your user. What happens when you type in bash? You get new memory. So where is that environment variable? Which memory space? The other one. So we need to, oh, I want to make sure it works for all my shell levels. This is interesting. Echo dollar SHLVL. Shell level. Now I use bash. This that I'm showing you is pretty much the same in the Z shell on Mac. And everybody says, why doesn't Mac use bash? Licensing. Z shell has a license that's a little more open. Bash says if you make changes, give it back to bash. They don't want to do that. Okay. And does anybody know where the roots of Mac OS are? FreeBSD. So if you poke in the Mac OS long enough, you're going to see a lot of similarities because what they did, Jonathan Hubbard was his name at the time, and he got hired by Apple to create Mac OS, and they started with a stripped down version of FreeBSD. Why? Because of the licensing. It had the unrestricted Berkeley license, meaning you do anything you want with it. You can steal the source code, make your own product, and resell it. That's why Mac was built on FreeBSD, not Linux. Because Linux, if you use Linux and change it, you are obligated by law to put those changes back into the queue. Okay. But if you're profit seeking, you avoid that. So you can see that there's this open source is in a nebulous, kind of in a precarious spot. There's some, I think there's danger signs, but like anything else, the pendulum will swing, it'll break, and it'll go back the other way, and then it'll break. And eventually, people will wise up, although I'm not very hopeful. Okay. So notice it says shell level 2. Now, if I type in the word exit, this will exit me from the bash that I typed in. Boom. And now if I type in echo dollar shell level, it says 1. And now if I use up arrow and say echo dollar high, what do I get? It works because I'm back in my original memory space. Everybody tracking? This is obscure. I get it. I get it. For the most part, people do not understand. You don't play in this area. It's like that spark plug that disappeared. It's not that you've never had an opportunity to change spark plug because you haven't had to. Most of you probably got your cell phone, and I'm sure every single one of you read the entire manual, right? No, you chuck it in the garbage and you monkey fist it until you figure it out. That's great. For a device that's only you, you can't do that in production. Or your boss is going to get really upset when you can't print payroll. Okay. All right. Now, how do I make that environment variable available to successive shells? Let's go back to where it's set. I use this term, export. What this does is it flags it as a global kind of. So when I spawn another bash with new memory, this will come with it. So if I do bash and then, whoops, too far, echo dollar high, there it is. echo dollar shell level. It says 2. Now, how many bashes can I type in? As you want. Just keep track of how many you do. 1, oops, bash, bash, bash. Oh no, I lost count. Echo dollar shell level, and it will tell me I'm at 6. So I need to type in exit how many times? 5 times, because I want to get back to my first shell. If I go 6 times, what happens? I get logged out, which is fine. We're learning. Okay. So let's type in exit. Oops. 3, 4, 5, and then my shell level. Yay, I counted right. Okay. All right. So in your guest directory, we are going to create a new directory. Okay. Now, all this stuff that we'll be doing will disappear when we reboot the box. Because what I have done for you on these machines is the guest account is a gnarly hack done by yours truly. When you log in with guests, you get a temporary file system that's allocated to 4 gig. Okay. And it gets recreated every time you log in as guest. So there's no password. And originally, back around Ubuntu 18 and back to 12, even earlier, they had a guest account, but it was a security hole you could drive a truck through. So they took it out. So for me to put a guest account in here, I had to kind of hack my way into making the guest account work. It's nothing fancy. It's not even that clever. It's just a lot of ideas I stole from other people, which is how you do this job anyway. Everybody's done something. You just have to go find out if they've done it before. And so when you log in, you get this memory space. You have a bash RC that is tied to your account. So when you reboot the box, that bash RC gets overwritten with a clean copy. We are going to modify our bash RC with our VI editor and put in a new path statement. And I'm going to explain how path and search works to find a command. Okay. In Windows, you don't do much from here. In Windows, you see a dot, an icon that looks like the Word document, and you click on it. What happens? Magic. It sees the extension of the file, and it runs the associated executable to open that file, right? No, you don't need that here. Because in Linux, we have something called magic. That's the name of the command, called file magic. I don't need to have a suffix to open a file with my appropriate tool. The convention is text files, .txt. You don't need them in Linux. However, if you're like me and use Dropbox and you want to get to your TXT files from Dropbox on a Linux box and you want to cat them and you're on a different machine, you have to put TXT on it. Just the way Dropbox does their thing, okay? But Dropbox handles symbolic links quite nicely, which is why I use it. Can't get it to work with symbolic links in Google Drive, okay? So let's talk about what we're going to do. All right, here we are. You're gonna write your first shell script. Let's make a directory, mkdir, and we'll just call this fun. Okay. It's just a fun time. MKDIR. Okay. And what we're going to do is change directory to fun. And then do PWD. What do we have? I got my full name. How many in here are Excel wizards and know the difference between relative and absolute path name? Cell reference? Anybody? Okay. In Linux, we have something very similar. We have relative and absolute file name or path names. Okay. Notice it says home, tux, fun. If I type in CD, PWD, that's where I am. Okay. I can type in CD/home/tux/fun. That is the absolute file name. Okay. And I have some special dots in here that are important. CD dot, and then CD dot dot. So what is dot and dot dot? Where's my? All right, we'll do it this way then. Whoops, I need the A, sorry. Control C. I need the hidden files. Notice I got a dot and dot dot. If you try to delete them, you chopped yourself off the knees. That's how parent and child are referenced. You have a folder and you have a child to the parent. And this becomes a parent, this becomes a child. The dot and the dot dot. So you move down, this becomes the dot, this becomes the dot dot. So if you try to delete the dots, you truncating your file folder, okay? And it won't work. It will give you an error. So you can change directory by using dot dot, okay? So the Q. And for grins and giggles, type in echo $path because we'll be adding something to this. Now yours is going to look different because you're on the guest. Is there a home guest bin in there? Yeah. Here's what I want you to do. Follow closely. I will make this mistake on purpose. All of you will make this mistake this semester at least 100 times. And then you're going to remember, oh yeah, relative absolute. I want to change directory to bin. You're going to type in CD/bin and you'll do PWD. And it's going to say /bin. And you're going to try to edit a file. And it's going to go, hey, I can't write in my bin directory. Neener. You made the mistake I told you you would. It's because you are in the system/bin directory. Because when I did CD/bin, that's absolute path name. And it takes me to the system bin directory. Now, how do I go to my bin directory? CD relative path bin. Magic. Now I can type in touch high and I don't get an error. You can use when you're in, for example, here, and I want to change directory to fun, I can type in space fun, because it knows where I am. I'm going to go down one level. Okay. Would help if I could spell fun right. Okay. There it is. All right. So let's create a hello world bash script using VI. Now, on the Jeremy box, I know for sure. But type in VI and we will just call it hello. And for the sake of argument, we'll put a .sh at the end of it so we know it's a shell script. Because you're all, I would say, all Windows or Mac users. I doubt there's hardly any Linux users in here, or you'd be challenging in this class. Okay. All right. You may know Linux, but you'll learn some good tips and tricks from me just because I've been doing it for so long. And I will get to learn cool stuff from you too. This is a two-way street, folks. I'm not up here as the guru. I just lived longer and made more mistakes. That's it. Not any smarter. Just my head is flat in certain spots, hitting it against the wall. So we're going to create a shell script that says hello world 10 times. Now you have this scary looking blank screen with the little tildes in there. That tells you there's nothing on the line. Now, I like to use the lowercase I. And notice it yells at you. You're in insert mode. The VI editor is unique. Back in the day, it wasn't unique, but it is unique today, is that it's called a mode-based editor versus a mode-less editor, which is basically what you're familiar with. Notepad, WordPad, you name it, it's mode-less. You type it in, you save, it does what it does. VI, you have an insert mode where you put stuff in the file, and then there's a command line mode where you can run commands against the stuff in that file. So I puts it into a command, or excuse me, insert mode, so I can type in my script. We always start a script with shebang, bin, bash. My convention is I put the file name on the second line of any file I work on, because when you're working on code or shell scripts or sysadmin tools, you have code calling code, calling code, calling code, and you're running the debugger, and all of a sudden you find the problem. Where is the code to go with that problem? Because you're looking at code that has no file name. Where is it? So now you spend another half hour trying to find a stupid file. Okay. No. This is one of those scars on the back. So we'll start super simple and we'll make it work. Okay. Here's what we will do. Let's type in echo. Hello world. And I'll do this. Let's do echo, and then, no, I'll just do an echo like that, okay? And then when I terminate a script, I just put some sort of done into file, whatever. A lot of people don't do this anymore, but old habits die hard, especially in an old guy, is that now I know where the end of my file is. What if I have a very complex piece of code that is using code folding? Everybody seen that? Where you can actually take your subroutines and fold them down into a single line inside your editor. Visual Code does that. Eclipse does it. JetBeans, they all do that. But then you got everything collapsed. You're going, am I at the end of the file or not? Well, now you know. Okay, this is just a habit. Okay, so here we go. Now I want to save this file. I will teach you the way I use it most of the time is you hit escape. That puts you back into command mode. And then you do colon WQ. What this means is colon says do the next command, which is write, and then quit. Boom, there it is. Now, ancient history, Tuesday. How do we display the contents of a file? Told you it'd leak. There is cats. That is right. So if you wrote it down, you got your notes to look at real quick. This is why we kind of scribble stuff down because it's going to leak. There's so much of this trivia, small little tiny stuff. It just falls out all over the floor. I get it. Okay. So if I say cat, hello, there it is. Okay. It's not meant to make you feel bad. It's just the way it is. Okay. You're used to learning in a graphical format. I click here, I click here, I click here, and it works. That's how you do things. Well, you can't do that here. It's different. So it's just a different way to shape your brain to learn something else. You're building cognitive reserve to stave off dementia in your old age. Let's call it that. Okay. All right. So now if I type in bash and then hello, there it is. Now, what's happening? I typed in the shell script. And the first line is important in the world of Linux that says, when you run this file, run bash. So in Windows, you use the suffix. In Linux, you use the first line. So what if I typed in Lua, hello? Ain't gonna work because this isn't Lua code. But I could do this. SH, that's a shell, or dash. I don't know if I put Z shell on this box or not. Oh, I did. How about corn shell? C shell. Nah, not installed. No problem. Yes, there are many different kinds of shells. The one that we use is bash, and it stands for born again shell. The original SH was written by a fellow called David Bourne. So when they took his code SH and expanded it, it's called the born again shell, bash. K shell was written by David Korn, as in that's why they call it the Korn shell. That's the default for AIX. If you're on an AIX box, Foster's runs a lot of AIX, and you did everything corn shell. Okay. They're all variations on a theme. Now, if I type it in all by itself, oops, doesn't work. I am going to show you something that takes you 45 seconds to learn. It took me over 2 weeks to learn this because I had nobody to talk to. Let me give you a clue. Let me play this sound for you if I can find it. Let's see here. How many know what that is? That's a 56K modem. When dial-up was the only option for connecting on the internet, you had to use your phone and connect to another computer and connect. Okay. Well, that's when I was kind of working sort of in computers. And I actually technically got started in computers before there was networking as you know it. There was Novell and there was Banyan Vines and there was LAN Manager. And then there was RS-232, serial ports and multiplexing. And that's how we connected the computers together, was serial ports. Ancient history. It's not totally obsolete because you still use serial ports to configure your switches and routers and big machines in the computer room. Okay. Now, where am I going with this? I'm showing you how this works. I knew how to make a bash file in DOS, but I didn't know how to make an executable in Linux. In this case, it was SEO, but no big deal. It's chmod +x hello. Oops, plus sign. And then if I do ls -l on hello, notice the little x's. That means it's executable. That means I can run it. That means all I got to do is I don't need to bash now, do I? Because it's executable. But why do I need the /? Well, in Windows, it will search for the current working directory first. That's CWD. What's my current working directory? Okay, never mind. It's PWD. DOS. Anyway. CWD just tells you what your current directory is. PWD is the print working directory. They're the same commands. CWD comes from BSD, and you can install it if you want, but you don't need it. Okay. Or just create an alias to it. All right. So we've created a script. We've made it executable. And what I taught you in 3 minutes here took me 2 weeks. So it's just, it takes longer when you're all by yourself and all you got is books. Okay. When you have other people to talk to and you got Discord and you got Slack and you got the internet, there is no reason for you not to become good at something unless you're just plain old lazy and would rather watch a movie. That's fine too. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, next step. Change directory. We're gonna have fun now. vi.bashrc. We're going to go to the bottom of the screen and we're going to look for a path statement, which is right here. Okay. We are going to add our fun directory to the path statement. Now, I want you to do this because I want you to mess things up. I want you to learn how to fix it. And when you get too frustrated, just reboot and then start over. Okay. And I know this class gets out at 6, but we can go all the way till 10 o'clock tonight if you'd like. I can keep you busy for hours doing this stuff. It all depends on how much you want to learn and how fast you want to learn. Okay. All right. Notice this is my path statement. This is what I do. YYP. It copies it. And I comment out the original. And now I'm going to make a change. So if I screw it up, I know where the original is. Guaranteed, you're going to screw it up. You've never used VI before. And you're going, how do I navigate? Oh, no. Oh, no. I got this funny looking screen. Ah, it's going to happen. This is why we're doing it. This is where you get to fail with impunity. So in essence, what we are doing is I want to add $ home / fund separated with the colon. And notice I spelled it funny. Now, if I hit escape and use the tilde, it changes the case for me. There are 1,000 million commands in VI. This is like 0.5% of what's available to you. This is survival. You can fly, literally, in VI. Okay. So I've added a change. And what's this doing? Well, this is my search path. So once I save this file and reinitialize my bash, what ends up happening is I can run my hello sh from anywhere. And it will search my directory path and find hello sh and run it. Let me show you. Save the file, type in the word source. This is a way to say, please reread it. Reread the bash file into my current memory space. Okay. Finding how source works. That's a good exercise for you because it's not very well documented. And there's stuff I bring out in our bash programming that I tell you is not very well documented, but it can make you a lot of money. Good for me. Okay. So now if I type in echo $path, do you see fun in there? It's the very first one. Now what happens when I type in hello.sh? Ta-da! It's gonna work. All right, you have 4 minutes. Go. Add fun to your bash RC in the path statement. Save it, source it, and see if your hello works. So let me type in history, show you what I did. So those are kind of the steps. We created the file, we chmod it. I showed you the differences when we added, when we did chmod, we ran it. Bash RC source. Cool.
That's what I was looking at. I was like,
Now, normally I'd walk around and help, but I'll run over your toes with my scooter, I'm sure.
so I know that the I forgot. I think
Let's
you
see.
add a second one. So I think you can do a code. Hey, Professor, could you
Yeah.
open up what your bash RC looks like?
Oh, sure. It's, what does it do that? Yeah. So all I did at the very beginning was add home fun
You added home
with the colon. Now, if you mistype your path and you screw it up and it doesn't parse, nothing works. And then I have to show you the other way to fix it. See.
and then now you have to update it so source
And then Abby.
source dot source dot bash RC. Now we should be able to just run hello.sh. There you go. So now you don't have to put the next without the dot slash. And then
Help each other out. This is how you learn this stuff. Everybody get it to work? Good? No? Yes? No?
Well, I'm not using that. I'm on the box.
Oh, you're in the one back there?
Yeah, so I can't find where I do that. It's hassle.
Okay, so if you're on the Jeremy box in the back room,
I don't do that. Okay, go.
after census, I'll give everybody an account on that box. And,
In front of the word.
oh, open a
The
terminal.
dollar sign. So keep going a little bit more to the right.
There you go. And now if you type in
And then I can do a colon first.
okay, so you want to add Linux, right?
Well, I put a slide that on the
Oh, okay. So it's under Linux funds. You've got uppercase Linux and lowercase Linux. It's case sensitive. So you have two directories, lowercase L and uppercase L Linux. So if you type in CD and go to your home directory. And do LS. You should see, there's an uppercase Linux. Okay, you only have the one. And then you have the directory.
Oh, you don't have to run it. You can just, no, so the point of doing that.
But it's underneath Linux.
Yeah.
Okay, so all you need to do is and do your dollar sign.
So do.
Let's try that again. You do dollar sign home, and then you do slash Linux without L slash fun. So in your case, what you would type in
Did you do the CH mod plus?
is dollar sign home, uppercase, and then it's slash.
Try dot slash.
And then put your double colon there. And then that will be added to your search path.
Right, but
No.
I don't know where to type it in the.
Yeah, C
Five
mark.
or C.
So let's do.
Or go ahead and type it in.
Oh, you put it in, you actually.
Instead of doing that.
Yeah,
just
right,
go
but I don't know
to
where.
C,
Oh, down the
and
bottom.
that's basic.
There we go. There's a path.
And then now
So you don't have a path.
Yeah.
So let's just, so if there's no path statement, easiest way to do that. That's a good point on the Jeremy box. I thought I put that on there, but I guess I didn't. So this is what you will do is you'll type in the word export
No E.
equals, no spaces here, uppercase
Plus sign.
path, whoops, dollar, path, and then colon, $sign, home,
There is a space in
/ bin, because you'll need that later, and then $sign, that one.
Yeah, so it's got all the.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So I do see. Yeah, CD to get just to get to one. And then test the fashion. Let's just do hello on stage. Not there. Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah, so it's just a C mod thing.
I think it's.
There you go.
And every Tuesday and Thursday, we'll be doing hands-on like this. So we'll be learning this stuff by the School of Hard Knocks. And we'll run into things and hopefully we'll get pretty good at fixing what we do. Oh, you need to add off? Yeah. Let me do that. Let's see here. Oh, go ahead and put your W number on there so I can find you. And now that we've gone to two-factor authentication for everything.
Could I put it under the boxes or?
Oh, wherever.
wherever?
Go ahead and put your name in there and then. Yeah, we want some service.
Yeah, it's a source.
It's BI.
Okay. Let's see if I can get this to
Right.
work.
Well, after we change that. That's source.
I know I didn't get that one.
Was Tuesday's lecture recorded also? Or
Pardon?
was Tuesday's lecture recorded?
Wait.
No,
No. Oh,
that was just a hello. And I do need to make that a little more clear, is that this is a hybrid class, not a high flex.
Hmm.
And the buzzword blizzard is hybrid, you're in the classroom, and then a lot of the work is online, but you're in for the lecture part.
lectures, yeah.
High flex is where we record everything, and then you have the option to come to class or not.
Oh, okay.
But this has been scheduled as hybrid. And then my other online, other class Tuesday night is also hybrid.
Okay.
So they're trying to get more students back on campus.
Mhm.
And they're telling the instructors, you don't have a choice. Well, that's fine, whatever. I'm a short timer, I don't mind.
Okay.
So yes, I will add you and then I'll send you an email once I get that authorization set up, because I don't think they send you any kind of announcement unless I mail you saying, hey, you're there. Because I don't think there's anything that says, hey, you got an authorization. You have to go in and check.
Mhm.
So I'll make sure you get an email too.
Okay.
So
That works.
you're good to go.
Sure.
Have a great week.
I'll get that. You too. Later tonight.
Gabe, what's your name?
So,
Yeah.
I
What you need?
already
Notes?
turned in the
Yeah,
prerequisite forms
Oh,
to
good.
the department. They emailed me saying that they were working on it. I don't know
Okay.
what that means, but
And
I also
they're
reached
trying to
out-
get CC to sign it. basically.
Gotcha. I also reached out to my counselor just in case, because sometimes she's been able to waive those for me.
Yeah,
I guess for this one, she's not able to. She
right.
did say if he already granted the ad authorization, which I got that.
Mhm.
But then it said he would be willing to start the process towards waiving the prerequisite. I don't know what that means at that point. That's why I'm like, I didn't see anything
Oh, that's
on
the
there.
form.
Okay. I
Yeah,
already
the
emailed it to them.
prerequisite, that class is one of the ones we're working on. Is that there's no way to say in our system, you need to be closer to the end than the beginning as your prereq.
Definitely. And it sucks because I'm in 272 right now, like currently.
This is
It's-
perfect.
It's
If you're
my
gonna,
last class. These are my last two classes before I need the final.
yeah,
That's why I'm like,
yeah, this
that
is
really
perfect.
stinks.
Yeah. We'll help you get in.
Okay, but
Yeah.
I'll be staying for Tuesday no matter what.
Yeah, keep coming on Tuesday because it's gonna work out for teams.
Okay.
And I think we got one
There's no
more.
extra
So
Yeah.
the teams, there was Tuesday night was just kind of a meet and greet. Everybody shook hands, introduced themselves to everybody, find out what they want to work on. So there's some synergies in trying to create some
Definitely.
projects. So,
Definitely. Finding
Yeah.
the person who has the same interest.
yeah,
Fields.
yeah. And it's like one group is going to be doing kind of the state thing. Here's the database for this. Here's a game, and then the database is going to be connected to the game.
Okay,
So
definitely.
yeah, that'd be kind of fun.
Thank you so much.
Hey, no problem.
I just wanted to update you because I'm like, I didn't know what that meant, but
Yeah, I think that means the form.
that's what I imagined.
But I will, even just keep coming.
Okay.
And you gotta start working on your project and we'll get the paperwork to follow.
Okay.
Because
Thank you so
this is
much.
one of the things we're trying to fix.
I believe it.
Yeah.
MJC has a lot of random little things like this.
Oh, yeah.
I've ran
It
into
is.
so many roadblocks.
In our curriculum process, it takes 18 months to make a change before it goes through the whole system.
So it's very
It's
Why?
too slow. Hey, we need to teach this. What, in 3 years? I don't think so, because that's been a problem. So we have to write our classes really vague.
just in case there's.
Yeah, because there's changes all the time, like AI.
No,
How do you add AI into it?
I thought we would add, but that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah,
But-
yeah. So, yeah. So do it using your project with AI. Why not?
Okay. Thank
So-
you so much.
You bet.
And I'll see you Tuesday.
You bet. You guys get it working? Or did it break?
He was actually running into an issue because he's in the Jeremy box. And that bash to reset bash source.bashrc doesn't work for him.
Okay, that means there's a typo.
Yeah, or is and like I made a typo in the so
Yep, that's a typo. Let's see what you got here. Source, bash RC, no such directory. Oh dear.
That's
LS minus LA. There is bash RC. Print working directory. Cat dot bash RC. Oh, there's your problem. Right here.
oh
There.
What was it?
I didn't have it wasn't equals.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then next week, remind me to show you about this dot colon. Okay, or the colon dot.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's a. So now if you do source, a shortcut for source is dot bash RC. And it does need the dot in front of it or it doesn't know. So now if you echo $path, bin, bit. Sourced it more than a few times. And then where's your Linux?
I don't. Oh, no, I don't see it.
Let's see, change directory, Linux. Change directory from. Oh, there's no hello. Oh, it's hello.
Yeah,
That's fine. So that works. Okay. This should work. The double quotes around things just make it. Shell check. Now, $ home should be set. Let's just do bash and then echo $path and create a new one. Huh.
maybe do the level to check the shell level, right? Because I think
Oh, yeah. That's correct. And you've got export, right? Oh, let's do that. Oh, my fault. I forgot to do that. Export path and then append the original path to it. Okay, there we go. That's going to work. That was my fault. Bin, Jupyter, agree. Linux fun.
Oh, yeah.
So now if you
Nice.
type in hello.
There it is. Thank
There
you.
it is.
All right, cool.
Nice.
All right, good to know. All right, Professor.
Yeah, all right. Take care.
Did actually want to ask you about something. I'm taking Bond's Visual Basic class.
Mhm.
And, I don't know if I should, to be honest.
Well, it fits into the CIS degree.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
an elective.
Well,
It depends on what your major is. If you're going to do the 2-year AA and be done with it, which is fine, you probably don't need it.
well, I don't want to do that.
Oh, okay.
I want to get the bachelor's for you. I'm transferring after this semester.
To where?
Well, I haven't decided fully yet. I have been accepted to Chico State,
Okay.
and then I was waiting on San Jose. They said they'd get back to me in February. So
Okay. Because once you don't need to finish here to transfer.
yeah,
You can actually take a few classes, transfer them back, then get your AA,
Right.
which
Yeah.
I did. So if you know San Jose State, I know they're going to want assembly, 272, 271, and discrete structures.
Yeah. So
But
I took data structures and all those other ones.
yeah,
But they also want first 2 semesters of calculus.
they want calculus. Okay.
Yeah, which I'm taking the first one right now. So I don't know if they'll put me in with just that. So yeah,
Yeah. Because once you get there, you can take the calculus there too.
right. That's the other thing. It'd be very expensive, of course.
Yeah, I know.
So-
That's what I did. I said, oh yeah, I could take this at Merced. And I got to go to Stan State. Going, wow, it's 10 times expensive. I think I'll go back to Merced for a while. I lost 2 years doing that, and I shouldn't have never done that. But you're young and stupid. How do you know, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody tells you. The counselors tell you what they want to tell you,
Yeah,
which is fine, but not everybody fits in the box.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I was debating whether I take that class or the final products class.
Your call. The reality is long term, it's going to look better to have the final project under your belt than VB, because VB
Yeah.
dying.
Yeah, that's kind of why I
They're
Maybe you wanna switch.
Microsoft is moving their VB stuff into the world of Python. They're going to make
Yeah.
Python a first class citizen to the Office suite, which is huge. That's huge. So, but they've been saying they were going to get rid of Access, for at least 20 years now.
Well, they'll probably do it at some point, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. So your final projects class, what is it? I guess.
Think of it as fun. You get to build what you want to build,
Which sounds
and
great.
you get to you can want to build a robot. Cool, build a robot. Use Raspberry Pi. You want to learn how to use servo motors. You do servo motors. You want to learn how to use the 3 clouds, Amazon, Google, and Azure, and create something between all the clouds. Sure, that's doable too. And I can guide you through just about anything. There's a lot that I don't know. But a lot of the students pick things that are not difficult, and they're formulaic when they're 16 weeks. You want something to look good at the end of 16 weeks.
Yeah.
So if you think you've got a taste for robotics, it's a perfect opportunity to try it.
I don't really know anything about robotics.
Yeah, well, it's just an example. Let's
Yeah.
say you want to do security, or database admin, or data science. You want to snarf stuff off the web and find out where all the cemeteries are in Stanislaus County.
Yeah. I do also want like something to put on my resume, right? So
Yeah.
that's
And then being in a group and working together in the group, that says a lot.
yeah.
It's up to you. In my view, you could probably handle both, unless they're on the same night, which I don't know.
They are, yeah.
Oh, that's
on,
the problem.
on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, bounce it off Chris. Ask him. It's up to you. Knowing you're going to transfer, the VV probably won't transfer anyway. It will be considered an elective.
Yeah.
And the same thing with final projects, but at least you'll have a feather in your cap, and it transfers as an elective.
Yeah.
It'll help your portfolio. And I bring a lot of common sense business stuff to it. So there's a lot of, hey, don't do this type of thing that I bring in.
Yeah.
So, and you've heard some of it, maybe not all of it, but you've heard quite a bit. Your call.
Yeah. At least right now, it seems like the final project would be better.
will definitely help your long-term prospects
Yeah.
for getting a job more
Right.
so. Because let's say, hey, I'd like to work in a computer room and I need to learn DevOps. You're not going to be using VB at all anywhere in that. But I use DevOps tools to maintain this lab. I'm using Ansible. There's Puppet and Chef. There's so much exploding in that arena right now, but you can't go to school for DevOps. So if you want to do DevOps, it's a perfect opportunity to learn DevOps without having to worry about production.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have to come to a decision by next week.
Yeah,
probably.
whenever. And then there's voice over IP. Create your own PBX system, which you can do with Asterisk. And so you can build your own PBX. And that looks cool on a resume.
Well,
Voicemail hell, you actually create your own.
yeah, I don't know where I would start with any of that.
That's usually the problem. Is it like you can do anything? I have no idea what to do. Yeah, that's a real problem. So what do you spend your time doing? What in your off time? What do you do?
Well, it's usually like just looking stuff up.
Yeah.
Like, well, I've spent the most time probably with C++. Just I've made a couple little. Yeah, did make a couple little games in Java actually.
Mhm.
Just like tic tac toe and
Yeah, yeah.
Crossy Road type of thing. That's those kinds of things are probably the most complicated thing I've made up until this point. So
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
I had one student who wanted to learn C++ at a higher level, and he wrote an entire front end to a database in C++.
Oh,
He learned a lot.
I would hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, and he used SQLite because it made it all nice and easy. He used the library, brought it in, and started learning how to interface C++ code to SQLite. And that's non-trivial, but that's something you can do in 16 weeks.
Okay. I don't know.
Build a drone.
A drone. That would
Yeah.
be cool. My dad, he got a new hot tub heater, so he wanted me to make an app so that he could turn it on from his phone.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know if that's possible.
It is. What you need is the computer needs to support something called Wake on LAN. And if it supports it on your server, I've got it working on all these machines. So when I bring the machines down, say off. So yeah, it's kind of fun. Let me log into my box. It's this one, SSH server. I'll show you how this works. Now, not all my machines do this. I don't think this one does yet. So if I do this, it's going to turn off the entire room. And you'll see them all go down.